G and I did talk about the magnitude of playing in the World Cup. We never talked about the aspects of being the first American-born black guys that played for the USA in a World Cup. None of that stuff ever registers when you're there. You know how many questions I used to get all the time about, why aren't you playing basketball? Why aren't you playing American football? What brings you here? I'm here to play soccer, dude.
My father grew up on the northwest side of Milwaukee. He grew up in the West Lawn community. It wasn't the best developed neighborhood.
In his neighborhood, there was a Salvation Army. And Salvation Army has all sorts of activities. And one of them that they decided to offer was soccer. Jimmy he was attracted to the game.
I think what really drew him to the sport was more the relationships that he built through the sport.
So we have a long history of having started out when we were 15 years of age. For me, I came from Wheaton, Maryland, where I was the only black player on the team.
Des Armstrong is a US soccer legend. He and Jimmy often went head-to-head at regional showcases. Des for the East, Jimmy for the North.
We are the only two black guys on our teams, basically. We played against each other, and then he came into the hallway where the East was staying and said, hey, can we trade jerseys? And I was like, yeah, cool. At that time, soccer was a suburban sport, and suburbs during that time was all white families. All the teams were all white, coaches were white, referees are white. You found yourself sort of on an island, if you will, bumping into him with a youth national team setup. It was a similar feeling, and I don't feel as alone. So when I saw Jimmy, as we migrated to the regional team, and we competed against each other, I've got somebody here that I can relate to without even having to talk, without even having to say, hey, do you feel this? Did you experience this? You just kind of know intrinsically that he's gone through the same thing because of the time period.
A time period also synonymous with that great American tradition of the major indoor soccer league, where Jimmy Banks starred for the Milwaukee Wave, lighting up arenas against the likes of the Wichita Wings and the Cleveland Crunch. With play so fierce, it ended up earning him a spot on the 1990 World Cup roster alongside his fellow trailblazer and childhood friend.
USA is a winner, 1-0 here from Trinidad, where the USA is qualified for the World Cup.
G and I did talk about the magnitude of playing in the World Cup. We never talked about the aspects of being the first American-born black guys that played for the USA in a World Cup. None of that stuff ever registers when you're there.
The first time the US played in this competition in 40 long years, and they were drawn in a group against Czechoslovakia, Austria, and the hosts.
We're playing in the World Cup in Italy against Italy in Rome. All right, come on. I said, bite your bottom lip, baby. Let's go.
In just a moment, we'll be back for the kickoff. Italy, USA, from Olympic Stadium in Rome.
Yeah, we got smacked all over the field. And he was playing against Donadoni. We didn't know who he was. We didn't have any scouting reports on Donadoni. But we found out who he was in that game because he was spinning G like a top the entire game. He's a baller, of course. Yeah, we got back into the room after the game. It was like, yo, man, what was the deal with that cat?
3 games, 3 losses, but still a massive moment for men's football in America, and an even bigger one for Jimmy, Des, and the rest of their US teammates, many of whom used the competition to test their mettle abroad. But for Jimmy, there was only one place he wanted to play.
Let's go.
Gee, I mean, he's like Mr. Milwaukee. He played at every level in Milwaukee. He was never going to move from Milwaukee, no matter how much I pleaded with him. Yo, Milwaukee's always going to be there.
Despite all of his accomplishments of him going to the World Cup, playing, and then also being such a great player for the Milwaukee Wave, he still wanted to give back to the community.
Jimmy returned to the Wave after his retirement. He went on to coach at the college level of the Milwaukee School of Engineering. He also founded the Milwaukee Simbas Soccer Club, a non-profit for underserved communities in his hometown.
1, 2, 3, Simbas!
He was just doing something good for the kids. That's what I remember about Jimmy. He was humble and kind, and we can't overpraise him.
Because soccer has been so good to me, I just wanted to put something back into the sport. As far as working with inner city kids, disadvantaged kids, and things like that.
I think about that it was done out of kindness. It was done because he felt there was a need. The remuneration for him wasn't important. People patting him on the back and saying, you are the king. That wasn't important to Jim. What he liked was, as he's looking at these young players from the inner city, he liked the smile on their face and the gleam in their eye because it had given him so much joy.
Jimmy passed away in 2019 at the age of just 54 due to cancer, but his memory continues to set the Milwaukee soccer scene alight.
He literally went to Italy to go play in the World Cup and got to see a whole different culture, a whole different lifestyle, and even meet with his teammates who had different economic statuses, had different upbringings, different cultures themselves, and be able to play together. He wanted to give other people the same opportunities to be able to come out of their community and be able to see the world themselves.